To the program. Now, when we say scientist, the image of a man in a white coat often comes to mind.
But this is an old stereotype, and today women are being increasingly recognized in the field of science. Now, one form of recognition has come through the L'Oreal Singapore for Women in Science National Fellowships Program.
And this program aims to recognize women who have made a significant contribution to scientific progress and to encourage young women to pursue science as a career.
This year, the three women recognized for their achievements are Dr. Hong Yee, a scientist at the Institute of Materials Research and Engineering, and Dr. Madhavi Srinivasan, an assistant professor at the Nanotechnological University, and also Dr. Yang Hui-ying, an assistant professor at the Singapore University of Technology and Design.
And we met up with the ladies to find out more about their work and the challenges they face as female scientists. But first, we had to ask them what nanotechnology is, since all their work stems from this area.
As a kid, I was always interested in science as a subject, and I was curious about things around me. So science really helped me better understand the world around me.
What about Dr. Low?
I was simply fascinated with biology when I was in high school, fascinated by how nature works. So that's how the interest in science and research started.
So we see it's really passion that drove you into this field. Is that the case for you as well, Dr. Yang?
Yeah, when I was a little girl, I just very curious about plants and animals. I read a lot of books about this type of things. And then in my high school, I developed my interest in physics. So I go in this way to the science.
So none of you had fathers who were scientists or in that sense. No. Well, okay, let's talk about some of the research that you all are doing. I mean, I understand it all has to do with nanotechnology to a certain extent. Perhaps Dr. Low can help us first understand what is nanotechnology.
Nanotechnology deals with the size of material when you shrink down to the scale of nanometer. Basically, it's a tenth of a strand of hair. So when you shrink down the size of material to that scale, everything that we know traditionally changes. So the ability to do that allows us to make faster computer. The ability to do that allows us to make more efficient materials with better performance.
And allows us perhaps to shrink the size of gadgets so that we can carry it around, I suppose.
That's definitely the case with the computer, with processors.
Well, Dr. Madhavi, perhaps you can share with us, what is your area of research?
My research area is improving batteries, making batteries better, to function, to store renewable energy from the sun, to power electric cars, and also to try to make them printable and flexible.
Printable?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So you don't have batteries which are rigid anymore in the future. The batteries can be printed on paper, on cloths, or on plastics.
Wow.
So this allows us to have new form factors for batteries. So your shirt pockets can have batteries. So it opens up a lot of new applications in the future.
Yeah, I am thinking of
a whole new concept.
I'm thinking of air-conditioned shirts already. I think if it's battery operated. What about Dr. Yang? What is your area of research?
I do research in design and fabrication light-emitting device. It's a LED bulb. In our traditional light bulbs, 90% energy will convert into heat and only 10% will convert to light. But in LED bulb, 90%, more than 90% energy will directly convert into light. So we get high efficiency, can save a lot of energy. And later, this LED light bulb can be powered by solar cell that will further reduce energy consumption by 90%.
Wow, so brighter lights using less energy in a sense.
Yes.
Well, it's great to see, how technology can really bring, innovative designs and products into our life to make it better. And I understand, Dr. Low, you also have one self-cleaning ability for car windows.
Right. So I terms our work biomimetic nanotechnologies because we take a lot of clues from nature. Take lotus leaf, for example. The ability of lotus leaf to self-clean comes from its micro and nano surface architectures. So we use an advanced technique that's called nanoimprint technology to mimic these surface architectures. So the ability to mimic these surface architectures allow them to mimic the properties onto engineering materials. So by doing so, essentially we are engineering the skin of materials without using chemicals. So the ability to create self-cleaning window without using chemicals, we believe it's attractive.
Okay, so I guess it's kind of like putting the lotus leaf on the window, sort of, right? I mean,
Yes.
But you must share with us, because we know the field of science is often dominated by men, and the impression is that the male scientists out there. And I hear some of you had a bit of a difficult path. Dr. Madhavi, perhaps you can share with us. We hear that you had to sort of battle some family stereotypes as well before you got into this.
Sort of. So in my extended family, no one has done a PhD and nobody is into science and research. So I sort of took the road less traveled in a sense when I chose research. So initially, there was not a lot of support from my family. They were not clear why I wanted to do research. So it took some time for me to convince them. But today, they're very happy and proud that I'm in science and research.
But what about in your course of work? Because it's a very male-dominated industry. Do you find challenges and obstacles along the way? I mean, kudos to all three of you for doing what you're doing. But, you know, you must have had a lot of encouragement and prodding along as you enter the field. But what were some of the most difficult aspects?
I think the challenge in science is really to have the persistent belief that you can make it through, because science experiments deals with failures essentially every day. But in terms of, I think today's in the so-called male-dominated area, it's still the case. We don't really see a challenge in the sense of us being women, so we have less opportunities. I think the world has changed. So I think today's in science, we're seeing more and more women. We're seeing more and more competent and outspoken women scientists.
And do you think as a female scientist, is there an added advantage? Do you feel that, or do you think it's equal?
I think it's equal.
It's equal. It's equal. There's no added advantage.
The cells don't care whether it's a man or woman sort of working with them.
The experiments don't care.
But what makes a good scientist? I mean, people have talked about you need patience because it takes a lot of time. It's not something that you see overnight. So what, in your opinion, makes a good scientist?
I think persistence and focus, and not to give up. So science and experiments doesn't work overnight. To believe in your vision and your experiments, and to be persistent and have focus about it. So I think.
Well, Dr. Yang, you must share with us, you said that your grandmother also had a role to play in sort of helping you start on this career path. How is
My
that?
grandmother is a traditional Chinese woman. She's born in 1930s in China. In her whole life, he has no chance to go to school. He never been educated. But she tell me, only education can change a woman's life. You must go to high quality education and achieve everything I cannot achieve. Then I think I'm very appreciative. He tell me all in her life what happened to her. She have no chance to go to school and always stay at home to take care of the children, hang on the lotteries and cooking for us. No chance to go to school. But for me, she educate me. She tell me reading more books, get high quality education can change my life.
And here you are today.
Yes.
I mean, just one last question. Perhaps you ladies can share with us. What do you think is the most difficult challenge or obstacle that is currently that you think more women will sort of encounter or face as they try to enter a field of science? I mean, for budding young scientists, for instance, what should they look out for?
I think the misperception that science is boring and you're dealing with machines all the time. So it's not a career that's very appealing for a lot of youngsters. So I think that's a perception that we hope to change, especially with this fellowship today.
And those were the winners of the L'Oreal Singapore for Women in Science National Fellowships Program. So they get some funding to work on their research, and I think that's great,
Yeah, I think it's admirable work, actually, what they're doing.
I love that idea of printable batteries. Who knows what will happen with it later on?
I still find it difficult to conceptualize. I mean, we've got to see it to really believe it.
I know, but you see, here we are living our day-to-day with normal batteries as we know it, but this is what's being planned for the future. And one day it will appear, and we'll never have known how it came about.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah.